Welcome back to Launch Your Light, a podcast that covers the soul and strategy of running a business and sharing your heart's work with the world. I have another amazing guest on our show today. Welcome, Chaffee. I love your name. I love Charity. That is such a good
Thank
name.
you.
She is a licensed mental health counselor working with high-risk teens. Oh my God, you are so needed. I can't wait to dig into this with you. She is also the owner and founder of Raising Vibrance. Like, oh, this is so perfect for our show. And you also have this new venture that you want to talk about, which is Teens Uncharted, and it's a product and support system and a membership for parents, teens, and facilitators alike. Like, this is so needed. I'm so excited to have you here, Charity. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I've had too much coffee today.
Haven't we all? Oh, we were just giggling because we finally have a 40-degree day in New England, and I just spent 2 hours outside, and I said this Irish lady right here is definitely sunburned, so she gets to look at that.
I'm jealous.
Okay, so we've had sun, we've had coffee, we are here. Okay. And when you were talking to me before the show, you were like, honestly, if anyone said I had to work with any other type of person besides teens, you would quit. So let's dive right into that. What brings you to want to work with teens?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a funny story because I became a therapist by impulse. My whole life, I was like, I'm going to be a bio teacher. I'm going to teach high school students. Like, this is going to be my jam. Graduated from college with my degree in education and biology and absolutely panicked. I had one person who was like, hey, I think you'd make a great therapist. And I was like, you think so? And she was like, yeah, do it. And I was like, okay, bet. So the next day I enrolled myself in
Oh
the
my God.
Yep, took that, got into grad school like 2 weeks later, and I've like never looked back. It's been the best impulsive decision ever.
Oh
Um,
my God.
and part of me, especially working with teens, has been like, be who you needed when you were younger. Like, I
Mm,
thrive in that quote, and it's just like that is my purpose and my drive, is providing accessible support services that are aligned with teen development, that are there really to meet them where they're at, because they're not just mini adults. They have their
mm,
own developmental wavelength. And it drives me crazy when I hear people say that and treat them that way. Sure, we have expectations. We want them to get to where they need to be, but be who you needed when you were younger. And I think that just like really aligns. So
I love that quote. I use that quote in my work, helping people develop what they're here to do. I'm like, most likely, you're probably here to make what you really needed a decade to 2 decades ago. And that's when we rise up in leadership. It's not always the case, but a lot of people who have something in them, that works. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay. So, and the teens do need help. So, like, okay, how long was it since you got certified in that, since you were trained in this?
So I started in the field in 2010 in grad school. And then in 2012, I graduated, started my first kind of community mental health job, was given a ton of different types of clients. Because community mental health, you work from basically like 3 to 99, right? Like whoever needs therapy, you're there to do it. And I had a wide range of clients. I had some folks I really enjoyed working with. And I was actually very hesitant. This is funny. I was very hesitant to work with teens because I felt like A, they were going to eat me alive. And B, I didn't know if I had gotten far enough past my own stuff as a teenager to be able to really support them with what they were doing. And we talk a lot in therapy about making sure that we are not, being like reactive to things and that we're thinking really clearly in like the clinical sense. And so for me, I was kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm there yet. I had a handful of clients that I was given after another therapist, exited the agency, and they were all teenagers, and I absolutely fell in
Mm.
love, and I've never looked back. So all of my 95% of my clinical practice has been based on teens, from every different range of CBAT, ICBAT, residential, 1 to 4, you name it, I've done it in Massachusetts. And it really has been like my bread and butter, my blood, sweat, and tears, like CPT trained, DBT trained, ERP trained. Like, I just want to be the best therapist I can for that population. So everything that I have done has been wrapped around how do I support them and what do they need?
Mm-hmm. Let's go into, because you just said a bunch of amazing things that I'm sure we have no idea. LOL. Let's go into that because you listed off a great amount of themes you work for in high risk teens. Can you name off some of those like that come across your table and what you like to work with?
Sure, sure. So one of the main ones that I absolutely love working with is self-harm.
Mhm.
And what's really interesting about self-harm is when I started this work, 15 years ago at this point, a lot of people were like, oh, self-harm is just considered to be cutting. So that would be cutting the skin, burning the skin, breaking bones. There's different like levels of it. But what I very quickly realized when working with teenagers is that self-harm is actually also inclusive of eating disorders and addiction,
Absolutely.
substance
Absolutely.
use, high impulse, like sex practices, like
Yep.
anything that's really
Mhm.
under that because they're trying to get a need met and they
Yep.
don't know how, and they're not doing it maybe in the way that's going to be the best self-preservation. I
Absolutely.
also love working with the kids who hate their parents, are very conflictual, tend to be more resistant to therapy. I'm not your average therapist. I will sit in resistance with kids as long as it takes.
Mm.
And I don't get upset if a kid isn't immediately like, oh, you're the best person ever. It's okay. I have to earn that. That is okay for
Mhm.
me to sit and earn that in a session with the kid because it's all based on trust.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, if they trust me, they're going to work with me. If we can't build that bond, there are different reasons why that happens. But like, I also have no hesitation in referring out if I think that's the best for the kid. So I'm not going to hold on to someone that I think could be better suited from somebody else.
Mhm.
And I think that is like a part in the field that we don't always talk about. So
What else? So self-harm, which is a huge umbrella we're hearing.
yep.
Hate that the hate parent kids, LOL, right? The resistance, the pushing the resistance.
Yep. School avoidance.
Oh.
That's been a huge thing since COVID has happened. I think that's like spiked a lot. And then I also really love working with kids who are wondering and curious or in their journey on sexual orientation and gender
Mhm.
identity.
Mhm.
Um, and then the last part is I really, really love working with people who are in kind of these like, unhealthy dynamics in their own like personal relationship. So like usually it's with a partner,
Mm.
girlfriend, boyfriend, etc. Because there's so much that's really good and value there. And it's not just about like, hey, end the relationship, but it's like helping people learn the groundwork they need for the future. So
You
those are my kind of big pieces. And of course, underneath all of that, anxiety, depression, bipolar, mood instability, you name it, it's part of teen culture. So
I feel like so many people say right nowadays, like, oh God, imagine being a teenager right now. And yeah, you just feel for them. You know what I mean? Like I'm an 85er. We had an unfilmed, undocumented teenage years. And these kids don't. My husband and I own a self-defense school in town through jujitsu, and we have bully-proof programs. So we're seeing the bully side of all this,
yeah.
and the deep emotions and the physical and the desperation and the oh my God, like it's a lot. It's a lot. So hearing that, I'm sure you hear that a lot. Like, what does that do for you when you're just like that pull to like work for kids right now?
Yeah, it crushes me in a lot of ways because I feel for them and like what society is asking out of them and what society has shown them. And at the same time, they're working against an environment that is not necessarily set up to be the most supportive or constructive or producing like really confident kids. So that it actually fuels my work for me because I see like the coolest kids that
Mhm.
are just like they're just fighting to get through to where they can be so that they can totally be themselves and be accepted for that. And like, you know, I think high school is not a great environment for a lot of people. And sure, like
Mhm.
people have good experiences, but I think a lot of people struggle in high school. And then when they get to college, they're like, wow, like this whole world exists, right? And
Yeah.
so much of my work is like, if I can just help you get to
Mm.
18, to college, to whatever that next step is, like you're going to see how much control and power you do have in your own life. But
Mhm.
telling someone that when they're like 14, 15, a freshman in high school is like, what do you mean I have to wait 3.5 more years?
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
no, it's
And it's
hard.
like the social situation is devastating. Like I remember when I went home from school, like you just got to go home and leave, right? Like, and if you logged on to AIM, right, and Messenger,
Right.
you could message people, right? But there wasn't this constant flow of like social stuff and connection and expectation and posting and like the roadmap, right, to social connection now is so entrenched that it's like, well, if you make this decision, you're going to look like this. And if you make this decision, you're going to look like that. And it's like, how do you operate in a social scene that is so constrictive? right? Because if you don't respond to someone, are you ghosting them? Are you being a brat? Are you whatever? But if you do respond to them, are you engaging in drama? And there's all these like underlying rules. And like I wouldn't want to be a teenager right now, but I love the work I get to do in helping them.
I love your thank you. Just thank you for responding to that calling deep inside of you. And also it sounds like you had a lot of like serendipitous and divinely aligned paths to get you here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, I love talking to teens right now. I'm right there with you. I love it.
They're,
I'm like, yeah, I'll talk. I will gravitate to them. They will gravitate to me. I think they really need mentorship and leadership right now. I
and
also think
authenticity.
an authenticity, yeah.
I'm not going to bullshit them. I'm not going to sit there and lie to their faces about stuff, right? Like, I feel like if we want to have trust with teens, we have to be honest and transparent. We have to lead them in that journey of being, critical and supportive and honest in those conversations. Otherwise, they're never going to learn those skills.
I think a lot of them have really had to grow up faster than
Yes.
any other well, I don't want to say any other generation, like war generations and stuff. They had to fucking grow up fast too. But like we're back at a like they've really seen a lot and they have access to a lot. Right? And then they look around and they're going, what's here for us? What is our adulthood years going to look like on this planet? I'm
That's
talking money, health, wealth, play, like, you know what I mean? Like everything. And these are just real conversations I've had with teens already about
yeah.
these subjects. So, oh, my head is kind of just exploding on this call with you. Hello. I'm like, wait, goodness, we have so many things to talk about. But okay,
Oh yeah.
let's, because I want to say, like, to any like parent who's listening to this, right? Like, well, what do we do? Like, what's the advice you give to, I know you have a literally like a membership that you've created to help with this, right? So where did that come from? Where did you go like, oh shit, we need a resource center here?
Yeah. So I only have so many hours in my day, only so many hours I can work in a week that I feel like my brain functions in that way. And I'm a business entrepreneur, I feel like by nature. And I think that going in private practice, it just unleashed this like beast in me where it's like, I will make all of these things successful. I'm so driven to do it. And like, have done a lot of work on myself and a lot of work just to be like, I will create the resources and the people that are meant for those resources will appear, right? Like it's very much that vibe. So in my practice, I can only see so many people a week. And so I've been thinking a lot about how can I extend my reach? How can I kind of like transplant my information, my knowledge, the stuff that I've worked on and developed and the success I've had in my work with teens and their families to a broader audience, right? And I know that there are a lot of providers who don't like working with teens, right? Either because of the developmental patterns or like the parent piece, or just they don't like the issues that are being presented, which is totally fair, right? It takes different kind of therapists for every single person. But for me, I saw the lack of support around like, how do we help support new providers in the field who like want to work with teens, but maybe don't have the best guidance? How do we support providers who maybe want to dip their toe into it, but have been part of the field for a while? How do we support people who are already working with teens to, get the leadership, mentorship support that they're looking for, right? So that was really where part of it started. Starting a podcast as well. So podcasting and then the provider part. And then the other piece for me was really like, how do I support as many teens as possible? Well, they don't live in a vacuum and they have parents. So the other part of it is how do I give parents access to a support system and a community where it's like they can vibe with other parents that are like going through similar things and struggles, because like validation means so much, right? And I also, in my work with residential programs and CBATs and ICBATs, I did so much family work. And I know that like, you can't sit there and scapegoat a teen and say, well, the entire reason the family is a mess is because of this teenager, right? It's not a thing. You have to work on the whole family, right? And so part of this was also then the parent hub around like, how can I help support them and give them access to resources in micro trainings and other things that they would feel really supported by, right? And when you think about, I heard this, I don't know, this has been around for a little bit maybe, but I heard this person who was like, at 18, when your kid turns 18, you get your first report card as a parent, right? And that's whether or not that kid wants to stay involved with you and what level they want you to be in their life, because at that point they choose, right? And so I really want to help parents catch it before it gets to the point where their kid cuts them off because they just don't want it.
Yeah.
Right. And unfortunately that's happening more and more and more. And like,
Yeah.
I think that if we can give parents valuable information and insight on how to build the best relationship possible, we're going to see less of that come in the future.
Oh, this is so good. This is so needed. I love that about the report card. I
It's so,
always say
because at 18, they
it
get to
is.
choose.
And also I think there's like that we're missing so many initiations as children into adulthood, right? Like in our ancient stories, we had either gatherings, communities, tribes, right? And there were many facilitated with elders,
Yes.
with men and women. There were like things that we could do to kind of like pass into these. And now they're very interesting. We don't have them at all. You know what I mean? Like rites of
Yeah.
passage.
Yeah.
I don't even know if any really exist anymore.
I
And
guess
then
you could consider like your driver's license at, 16, 17,
right,
because you're being,
right, like that's it.
well, and then at 18, it's voting. That's pretty much it, right? You get to vote and
Right.
you can list in the service. That's what you want to do. And you can sign up for a credit card. Like,
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I work with a lot of people on their businesses on the side too of like creating these rites of passages for our youth again,
yes.
taking them away places, having these like gatherings, and it being revolved around them. I think a lot of people kind of like shit on teens these days. Oh, they're this and that. I'm like, actually, I've talked to some brilliant teens who have a lot of ideas and have a very clear idea of what's going on out there and how they're going to change it. I'm super inspired by them, actually. Not
Yes.
all of them. I don't know all the teens, but you know what I mean? Like the ones that I don't know, they end up flocking to me and I flock to them because they need that mentorship, that guidance.
The
So I think
cultivation.
for what? Say that
The
again.
cultivation.
The cultivation, yeah, like for parents to hear that they can be that
Mhm.
and do that. Not that everyone wants to hear from their mother, their father, yo, but like even like anyone that is not a teen to step into that role and realize their life experience, but be a mentor, not be a dick. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, so the other thing I will say is that I think that the old school way of parenting is like you're under my roof, you're under my control until 18,
right.
right? And when you look at brain development, I feel like you can almost break it down into separate sections, right? So, and I'm not a child specialist, just, but I've worked with them. So I feel like 0 to 5 is a lot of learning attachment, right? You're learning who is safe, you're learning how to identify safe people, you're learning how kind of like those initial pieces work, right?
Mhm.
5 to 10, you're learning more about like the family morals, the family values. Why are we doing this, right? Like, how are we holding ourselves ethically, morally, etc., right? Like, that's the huge learning period, right? Then you have like 10 to 13-ish, where they're going to start to be like, wait a minute, what are some of these and how do I experience them and what do those really mean? Right.
Who am I?
And from 15 on, you're going to get a lot of kids who are like, I don't agree with you. I don't think that's valid. I don't think this. That's where people are like, oh, they're being defiant. Right. And it's like,
Mm,
have you actually sat down and had a collaborative discussion about why they don't think this? Right. Or
mhm.
really understanding their resistance instead of just being like, well, you're under my roof, so this is why.
Right, right.
It's a whole different frame of parenting.
Mhm.
And you can't sit there, you can't control a 16-year-old, right? But if you work with them and you can support them and you have that bond and that relationship, and they know that like at the end of the day, you're there to support them, and like you will support them in decisions that maybe you would make for yourself,
Mhm.
right? Like that's the true like parenting piece that I think like needs to happen a lot more, because
Mhm.
it has to be like a collaboration. It has to be a willingness. That means you have to have the relationship that that
Mhm.
kid is willing to bond with you and be collaborative about things.
And let us as parents really explore like, well, what are safe boundaries, good boundaries, like constructive boundaries, because they need boundaries, right? And what does that look like in your household? And what does that child need? And what do you need? And I feel like that would really require open communication.
Absolutely. And I would take it a step further and have the parents ask why,
Mhm.
right? Like as parents, we need to do a lot of work around ourselves of like, why is that a boundary for you, right? Not just that it's a boundary, but like why, right? And like who instilled that and where did that come from, and understanding like the
Totally.
whole premise building up to it. Because at the end of the day, like you could be like, oh, you need to have this thing. And the teen is going to be like, well, why? right? If you can't justify that,
Articulate it. Yep.
articulate it, the kid is going to be like, you're full of shit. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love this conversation. Oh my God. So I'm like wild schooling and nature schooling, like basically kind of unschooling, but so
Yeah.
we're not. And it's really like a whole relearning
Yes.
and questioning everything we were taught. And not even like, oh, the subjects of it's not the subjects. It's like, well, why were we told to do that? And why were we you know what I mean? And just like really understanding like child led, but also having really grounded structure. Well, some natures of unschooling is like no structure. I'm not like that. I'm a Capricorn. I'm like, yo, bro, my kids are fucking feral. You're a Capricorn too? Of course you are. Once you started saying entrepreneurship and all your business ventures, I was very curious. I was like, she's either a Gemini or she's a Capricorn.
Capricorn. Yep.
Yes. Oh my God, what's your birthday?
January 3rd.
Amazing. I'm Christmas Eve. That's so great. I've had a few Capricorns on the show. You got to listen back to the Capricorns. Yeah.
Okay.
Badass business babes. Yeah. So like, it's been very interesting to be like, me and my husband are also like constantly checking ourselves, and then being like, okay, what's discipline? Well, what's discipline? Well, what the hell is this? Like, what does this look like? Why do we feel like we need this? Can their brain handle the discipline we're looking for? What are we looking for? And are their brains even developed for
Yes.
that? And why do we think we need that? How can that actually look like? Yo, it's a trip. So I can't imagine. I have a 2 and a 3-year-old right now. I can't imagine someone with a 13 and a 15-year-old right now.
Yeah.
So tell us
They're like
about some.
sassiest though. I love them.
They are sassy. I also have a 15 and 17-year-old brother, and I have a blast with them. I have an absolute blast. What they're able to talk about is really fascinating. I mean, we can go down rabbit holes, we can talk about government stuff, we can talk about art. They tell me about pop culture and the words that they use and the terms. They like, I don't know, it's just really fascinating to see how brilliant they are. And I don't think we're giving teens enough credit.
Well, we don't. And I think that we ask a lot out of teenagers. And that is a big part of why my entire practice is really like folded around them. Because I really want to be accessible. I want to be up to date. I want to have time to like understand, if you say you're really into softball and I don't necessarily know softball, you better bet that I'm going to leave that session. I'm going to study every single thing I can. I'm going to watch the podcast. I'm going to listen to things. I'm going to watch the stuff. I'm going to know what your favorite team is. Like, I'm going to know those things, right? Me as a provider, I feel like that's part of my responsibility to like truly not just be like, oh yeah, I can talk to this person, but like, I know you, right? Like at the core, like I see the things you're interested in. I see your value. I see the things you're good at. Like, so, and I work until 11 o'clock at night because I'm just like, teenagers need time and they're working, they're playing sports, they have, partners. And I'm like, I don't want them to be like, oh, I can't work because I have to go to therapy at 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
Right. Like I want them to have accessibility so that they can fit things around everything else that they like need to do in life. I don't think they should sacrifice self-development for that. So
Wow, that's actually a good point. So what are your hours for work? What do you do? Like the afternoon kind of vibe to night?
I'm usually, yeah. And I think that this is also, I feel like I've been this way since I was a younger teenager too. Cause like, I just really liked like 3 to midnight was always my jam.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't function before like, 10.
Good for you. Yeah.
And so for me, working late, I really appreciate it. And there's something so valuable about having a kid at the end of the day that they can sit and reflect and they're tucked into their bed and they're talking about their difficulties for the day. And then they get to just like, go to sleep after. Right.
Mhm.
And it's just like a really nice, like gentle, I feel like transition for them and just being able to process it and just like move on. So I really value it. And sometimes those like, late night sessions are just like the most magical because you get them when the world is sleeping. And it sometimes feels like it's the first time they can really like think during the day.
Wow.
So
You
I love
know,
it.
it's so true. It's like also we know how the teen brain is developed and how it operates, and it does not operate before 11 a.m. So
It
it's
doesn't.
really so frustrating that we still have school structured time that kicks off at 6:50 a.m. and
Yeah.
keeps them. I'm like, I've always said, imagine if we had a second shift for school. Like you could start at 3 and go till, or like start at 2. And like, how cool would that be when they're actually functioning? But then it's like, well, what would we do with it? You know, it just opens up a can of worms. I'm not saying there's a million questions after that, but it's like, imagine if we had more shifts for people to work and do school. Because what if the whole house was like a let's sleep in, let's have the morning, let's have the sun time hours and the daytime together, and then you can go off to work at this time and they could go off to school time. And you're nodding so hard while I'm saying all this. It's like there's just not enough. Oh, there's not enough for the different types of people there are.
One of the things I'm just so hopeful of in the future, because this is my driven self, is I want to be able to create essentially like a series of schools that allow for kids to start and do like a 10 to 4 or like
Yeah.
a noon to 6, right? And
Yeah.
to really highlight the fact that when there is a choice, there's so much more investment.
Mhm.
So much more investment. And like, when we look back at where our school systems really started in history, they started because they were training people to work in the factories, right?
Right.
And then when you really back up and you look at nowadays, you have people that work 24-hour shifts, you have doctors that are on overnights, you have teachers that are 7 to 3, you have all these different shifts that are there. And I'm like, why can't we honor a kid's normal development and where they feel like they're at? Now, granted, I have kids that if you offered them like let's say 3 to 10 schooling PM, they'd be like, no, thanks, I'll stay with my 7 to 3 because they want to be in bed by 7.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right. Like I
yeah,
do have
yeah,
some clients who are like,
yeah,
I'm done
yeah,
at 7 p.m. and that's fine. And
yeah.
then I have other kids that are like, if school started at 11, I would be on time every day. Right?
Yes.
And it's like knowing that it just kills me. Like our education system is not set up to have that sort of individuality and to meet those different types of needs. And I would love to see it. So I'm hoping, with everything that I'm building, that maybe that is in the future.
Wasn't it Rockefeller who it's like basically we're following his creation of school, like the what we're doing, like that post-industrial revolution kickoff. And
Yep.
he's quoted, I'm pretty sure it was Rockefeller, so like sorry, bro, if I'm saying the wrong name, but he was like, I don't need a nation of thinkers, I need a nation of workers. And
Yes.
that's the man who created and what the same school system we're following. And I think
Yeah.
it's time for people to like wake up. You know what I mean? Like then it's so funny. People are like, oh, well, your kids sleeping. Oh, they do this. Like, what are they going to do for the real world? I'm like, first of all, they're 3 or they're 7 or they're 10. Why are we getting a 10-year-old ready for sitting at a job? Jobs that will be taken over by AI within 10 years from now. Like, what are we doing, y'all? You know what I mean? And it's like, well, what about the medical field? Those people aren't working 9 to 5. What about the hospitality industry? That shit don't pop off till noon and onward. So it's not actually inclusive of all the industries and the jobs and the creative positions we do have on the planet.
Exactly. And that's always my fight, right? It's like you can't tell me that just because I don't work 7 to 3 or 9 to 5 that I'm unproductive.
Right. Oh, have you done your human design yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, yo. Yo, go do that. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you are. Because that's like human design is like so cool. It's like basically it's like aligned to your design in a nutshell. It's like 5 different ancient systems wrapped into one. I'm not gonna go into it with human design, but when you learn about yourself and how you operate, you're like, oh my God, you end up like apologizing for yourself less. You know what I mean? You're like, I am never apologizing. That's me. That's who I am. This is the quality of me. This is my design or my personality. Done. I'm not apologizing. And you start to align with your design and things flow better, work flows better, relationships flow better, money flows better. And I've had these talks like people want to design schools around these
Yeah.
different types, different energies, and I'm like, oh, it gets me all tingly, gets me all fired up.
So that's actually I struggled for a long time in what to name my practice because I just felt like at first, because I'm in private practice, it's really just me, right? It's just charity. And so I just used my name for so long because I never found anything that I truly felt connected to, right? And there's lots of practices that have these very calming, lovely, meditative names, right? Like running brook therapy. And I'm just like, that's great for you, right? That is not me. That's very much the punk alternative person who walks in with
Yes.
different colors in my hair, who like has
Yes.
a sailor, who has like no qualms about just truly being myself, right? And
Oh,
so raising vibrance came from this idea that we are all wild, and that it's not about harnessing the wild and fixing it and making it fall in line. It's about how do we like refine it, right? How do we really help you just make like the best situation you can for yourself with the you know the contents you have inside of you, right? So that's really where like raising vibrance came from, because it's like, I'm not here to change your teenager, right? I'm here to help them find the path that's meant to fit for them in a way that they are. That's what I'm here for.
Amen to that. We gotta soundbite that bit right there. And
I get
also,
very passionate. This is like, my jam.
yeah, this is the podcast to get passionate on. That's why we just like let it rip. There's no editing, there's no filtering.
I love it.
We are just here. Okay, so the raising vibrance, yes, and you have, for anyone who can't, obviously you can't see her right now, she has pink and purple hair. And what color is your wall behind you?
Okay, this is my mysterious wall, because every single person sees different. I'm not even kidding. Every person sees a different color, and
I
it's
see
all
blue.
shade.
Yeah.
So some people are like, it's purple, it's teal, I mean, it just depends on the lighting. So it's kind of a fun mermaid wall, I think. It just is always changing. But it, in theory, is like a denim blue.
You've got definitely mermaid energy.
Yeah, I feel like
Absolutely.
I should have been a water sign, but I'm not.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love this so much. Oh my God. Okay. And also your thing is called Teens Uncharted.
Yes.
Okay, that you would like, so my business name is called Tracking North, and I have like Tracking North tours that I used to do before COVID, lol. And then I've got my whole purpose of like the soul purpose stuff is tracking north. Like, I'm not here to tell you who you are. You're here to uncover who you are, and I'm just a guide. And I can like write a plan and we can build a map. Like, but like I'm a Sherpa, like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You are here to walk this path. So I love the names of your stuff. Teens Uncharted, right? It's like unwind them from all these expectations we have of them and get to know who they are, with still providing stability, safety,
We are the
foundation.
scaffolding.
Yes,
And they are
yes.
the materials.
Oof.
Right.
Yeah.
So like we provide the scaffolding of life and experiences and trust and safety, and then they get to build how they want to.
Mm. How many kids do you think you've worked with over the years?
Oh gosh. The other day I strangely tried to calculate this, and I think that at a given time, my caseloads have usually been around like 30, maybe 35 people. And so I feel like if you add that, I mean, it's probably over like 2,000 at this point. Given the folks that I've interacted with at like ICBAT, CBAT, residential, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, like, it's up there. I should have started tracking it when I was younger, because it would have been a really cool stat, but it's definitely up there.
Says a Capricorn. Only Capricorns are ever going to tell you what they have regrets on not tracking. LOL. I am psycho with tracking my stuff. I'm so upset that I didn't track farther back than 2019 all my private sessions. But I have from 2019 onward every private I've had and how many sessions I've had per year. And I just crossed 555 sessions with private sessions, not even the group stuff, not the fun training events, lives, workshops, any of that, just the freaking privates. And I kind of want to dig into my journals and go back one day when I'm sitting there,
I have all my planners from 2013 on. So in theory, I could go back and look at them, but like, I can't even imagine what train wreck that would put me through.
We need like a Capricorn data support group. Walk us off the ledge of fucking trying to capture all this info. It just feels good. I'm a scientist. I'm a mad scientist, and it's data. It's data to me. You know what I mean? I also track all my testimonies, and I just hit 23,000 words of testimony from 2018 onward.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I always try to get teens to journal. Like, I always invite them to journal and to have tools like this and to start doing that, to let them know, like, it's okay to capture the brilliance coming out of you or those memories you're having. Also, it's a great way to release. And it's like a free form of therapy. Obviously, you're a therapist that they have to sign up with, but like So what are some other tools now that we're on to this? What are some tools you provide or invite families to use to help them to process?
Honestly, it's a lot of like connection and conversation. I think when parents show up non-judgmentally just to support and allow their kid to kind of like understand and make some choices, it's a huge deal. I know there's a lot of resistance with like tracking and being consistent. And, I think journals are hard because you don't ever know who's actually reading them when you're not involved.
Especially at that age. I agree. There's like a
So
boundary thing there.
there
Yep.
totally is. And at the same time, too, like I think we have also, as a society, moved away from anything that's handwritten.
Mhm.
And so I have tried to encourage kids to also just like do, voice to memos, right? Like do
Yeah.
thing that you can kind of that like is helpful. I really love using like some art therapy technique. I love doing collages. I love having
Yes.
making like PowerPoints. I like really love kind of embedding in the stuff that, I also absolutely love if they're if they bring it up and they want to, I love to go through their Instagram and I love having them point out like their best friends in these concerts. And like when you
Yeah.
think about journaling, our journaling has taken the form of social media,
Mhm.
right? So like
Right. Mhm.
so much of that, if a kid wants to show me like, what's in their snap story or what's going on in different avenues, like I'm down for that.
Mhm.
So that has been a really great thing. And I think even with parents, like I try to really just like make it concrete as far as the connection goes. I want them to have good conversations. I want them to like, parents can sometimes be so reactive, right? And like, yes, I get it. Your teen is trying to get under your skin at certain points, but also like if you just like accept the information and sit with it,
Mhm.
and really try to understand where they're coming from, I think you can have a better conversation, right? So I try to also encourage people to like pause and take reflection and to like, it's okay if a conversation takes a week and a half to have, right? Like
Yeah.
the world is not on fire, right?
Mm.
Well, I'm debatable,
Yeah.
debatable, but like, you can take time. I know I can't with
I know. I know. I
political
know.
climate right now is scary,
I
but
know.
it's okay to take time and it's okay to be human. And I think that, I also try to like really help parents embrace the idea of like, we all make mistakes. We're coming from different places. Like, it's okay to have those conversations, like, with your teen, be like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I messed up.
Mm.
Like, I should have done differently. Or like, tell me what your experiences were like with this. Right. I know that it's really scary to let a kid like make their own decisions, but I've seen it time and time again that when they're given that trust and that permission to like make those decisions, even if it's not what the parent would do, there is an entirely new person that comes out, an entirely new person. And like I've just the transformation of supporting them in those decisions, quitting a sport, right? Leaving a team, choosing to do something different that they've never done before. It's just a really beautiful thing.
Mm. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for you and just this, you are categorized under Earth Angel. This is where I think Earth Angels, you guys have come to the planet to really dig in into some deep, intense areas, baby. And you show up for it day in and day out. And you love it. It's not easy. It's super challenging. I'm sure you've heard some shit, saw some shit,
Oh
and
yeah.
it, I'm sure, keeps you up at certain times. And you've had to probably build your own boundaries in this
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, teens, I know that I talk so positively about it, but it is work. It is hard work. And it's, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong if you're not really aware and alert and like understanding the different avenues things can go down. And that's another part of why I wanted to create like the provider space is that I want people to feel so confident in their work with teens. And I don't want people out there, not sleeping at night because they're like, oh crap, did I make the right decision?
Mhm.
Like I want that community to be there so that you have the support you need to work with the like such an impactful population that is also so what is that word? I forget. Impressionable. There you go. They're so impressionable.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So, real quick,
Yes.
say again with the Teens Uncharted,
Yes.
is that live? Is that something that people can buy into? You said it's like a monthly subscription or something?
Yep. So there is going to be a free community. It's launching on March 1st. There's
Good
going to
for
be a free
you.
community with some access to different things that, will happen throughout the month. And then if you're part of the paid membership, there will be like specific member events that happen. And on the provider side, there's a lot of business building stuff. There's intake paperwork. And I'm also launching a free ebook for parents and providers to help assess
Yes.
where their kids are at in regards to like the life skills. So it's called the side quest because we know for teens, it's not about those things are not their main quests. So it will be the side quest ebook, and the entire thing is focused on how to conceptualize really like where your teen is at in the process of like developing those skills. And then what things we as humans can do to support them. So it's not a workbook that you are going to give to your teen and be like, do these things. It's going to be for parents and providers to be like, how can I help build some skills around these things through the relationship that we have so that you can do those things when you're an adult.
Charity, you are awesome. You are fucking awesome. And like, I don't know, when I hear ebook, membership, and podcast, I just explode because this is what I help people with. And it's just like,
Yeah.
yes, like get that brilliance out of you. Get it out of your brain, get it out of your body, get it recorded. I have a whole course called like Record It Like It's Hot. I'm like, where you are repeating yourself, or where you're just copying and pasting, or you're like, get it recorded, turn
Yeah.
it into an asset, turn it
Yeah.
into a product, get it
Yes.
into the hands of the people. It can make more impact than you just saying the same thing over and over again, Monday through Friday, yada, yada, yada. So
Yeah.
good for you. This is so exciting. When does that come out?
So the ebook will launch on March 1st too. And then the memberships will be live on March 1st as well. So everything is kind of launching in March. Very
Yes.
excited about a podcast as well.
What's the
Literally.
podcast? What's the
Mhm.
podcast going to be called?
The podcast is going to be called Teens Uncharted, and the
Yeah,
entire podcast is going to be around interviewing providers, parents of teens, and folks that either are teens or have been in therapy as teens, experiencing
cool.
that journey. Because I do think that we don't listen enough to those experiences, and so I want to talk about the highs and lows of being in treatment as a teen, and
Mhm.
what was really helpful and what wasn't, and any recommendations they have for the therapeutic process for the future for any clinicians or parents. So it's going to be a holistic look. So it's going to be talking up too about like, diet and nutrition and physical fitness and, job stuff. Like it's not just going to be limited to like the very niche mental health that I am. It's going to be like, we're going to cover everything teen and create a space where like folks can access that information.
Ow! I am excited for you. And you booked this at the perfect time.
I know. I was thinking about that and I was like, it just all worked out.
You were ready. You were ready to be seen in all of this.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so usually I ask people what next, but like, yeah, like as in what's coming next down the pipeline, but you just like drop like three things that you're doing. Classic Capricorn. I fucking love it. Well, look, I'm here to help you. I am here to serve people like you do this beautiful work on the planet. So, oh, thank you so much for this call here today. We'll put even though it's coming out, like I'm trying to think let me just look, it's the 23rd. So honestly, we will have this launch like right before that, like March 1st. So why don't you give me the links that you want people to have
Yeah.
that will be live then?
Yeah. Of course.
And
Of course.
March is such a good time to do it like energetically, like that March 1st energy, and then the 3/3 March 4th is a good one too. There's a
Yep.
lot of good astrology coming up. We've got the big full moon coming up, and we have the equinox, obviously. The spring equinox is coming. So this is a really beautiful time for you to be launching.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it very much falls in line with my Komodo dragon, kind of like Eastern Western combined sign types. So it's a fit.
Yes. Oh my God. This has been awesome to have you on. I like how we're like twinsy on this call a little bit today.
I
With our work
know.
and what we're doing. And guys, like everyone listening, like I totally go into these sessions blind just like they do. And if you go back and listen to these episodes, it's like I've known these women for like my whole life and it just keeps happening. It's so good. So this is your invitation to go out and talk to someone. Go talk to a teen today. Show
They're
up
worth
and fucking mentor a teen. And if you can't talk to them, go and get resources like this from
it.
brilliant people like her so you can. And if you really can't even do that, sign your kid up for therapy and then sign yourself up for therapy.
I mean, maybe I'm biased. I think every human on earth should be in therapy. So
Yeah. It wouldn't hurt. Look at the planet right now.
No,
It would hurt. It's either everyone needs to do mushrooms together and just like fucking love each other. I don't know. Or get some therapy. Or I don't know. Run around naked. I don't know what's going on. I
I
don't know
mean,
what we
all
need.
of it, maybe. Who
I
knows?
My thing is everyone has purpose. And if they just started to align with what they came here to do, there would be a lot less tension on the planet and a lot more medicine. You know what I mean? On the
Yeah,
planet. But hey, not trying to be too judgmental here. So you and we're just going to keep doing the damn thing,
I love
Charity.
it. Yes.
And we're going to keep shining our light. And this is what this whole podcast is about. So thank you for today's call. So inspiring. So great to talk with you.
You're so welcome. You as well. Thank you.
All right, anyone head to the show notes and keep in touch with her. You'll have her social medias, you'll have her website, and follow along and support her journey. We will see you on our next episode. Bye.